Hello and welcome to SquishiVision, where I'm about to give my thoughts on She-Hulk episode 3, The People versus Emil Blonsky. Yeah, this episode was pretty great. Loved every bit of it. Don't know who Megan Thee Stallion is. I'm sorry, got not a clue. I guess I'm just not that in tune with the American rap industry. That's fine. Everything else about the episode I loved. I mean, the bit that I really loved was the part where they pretty much, you might say this is too on the nose, but is it really on the nose if it's identical to reality? The aspect of the episode where they basically get someone making a social media video where they say, oh, it took away the Hulk's manhood and they gave it to a woman, and you know, people have been making that exact same comment on social media, like word for word. Like, is it really awareness when it's so in your face? I mean, the show, the creators, the writers, Disney, whoever, Marvel, they're just telling it how it is, and you know, that's really what comic books are meant to be about at the end of the day, the real world. And it's, yeah, pretty spot on depiction of how certain people who think they're fans of a certain thing but let the toxicity permeate into it, how they think and how they express it. And there was someone else who was like, you know, oh, and we had a Me Too movement, and now there's like female superheroes everywhere, and like people have said the exact same thing. Like, I've seen exact same non-ironic comments, thumbnails on YouTube, titles on YouTube, it's the exact same thing. I mean, there's certain people who are unironically saying the MCU as if somehow this is the first time we've ever had female superheroes in fiction or whatever, and then the show just literally pulls no punches in calling it out. It depicts it flat out, and it doesn't. The thing is, it doesn't need. It has the beauty of it. It doesn't need to do anything clever with it. It doesn't need to be subtle. It doesn't need to be satirical. It just literally depicts it as it is, and it's great. I love it for doing that. Honestly, wish they had this exact same thing, I guess, in Ms. Marvel, because I would have related to it even more. But you know, even though I'm not a woman, I don't know what it is to be like a woman. I'm not gonna say I do, but even, you know, I'm part of a marginalized group. I can to some degree empathize with, you have a sense of being othered and the exhaustion of that, and it comes through here, and that was great. Yeah, just like, good job. And then what else happens? I mean, that's pretty much the highlight for me. And then, oh yeah, I mean, they also kind of satirize the media, and you know, what's the word? Tabloid kind of news and things like that in a way which I'm totally on board for, because I hate tabloid news. The whole thing about, you know, the whole thing about everyone's telling her, oh, you've got to go into news for yourself and be able to control your own narrative, and then she tries it. Yeah, it's like everyone's telling her, and you think like her arc is like, oh well, actually maybe I should do this, maybe I should go and, you know, put myself out there, and then she does, and literally she has no agency over the narrative, and I'm like, yeah. Unfortunately, that's just the reality. I mean, I'm a journalist, but you know, even I criticize kind of the more insidious parts of the media, and that's one of them. So it's definitely calling that out. It's calling out the whole kind of people. Everyone's trying to popularize and dramatize her motivations for taking the case, when really it's literally just a job for her, that's going to help her career. That's literally all it is. But everyone's like, oh, she's got some kind of motive towards it, and it's, I don't know if this was, I don't think this was deliberate, because it's not close enough to be a commentary on it, but it is quite topical with the whole Depp versus Heard case, which, you know, I don't really have a strong opinion on the actual details of the case, because my whole attitude is court cases should not be dramatized and be the nature of public forum to that level of degree where people are literally, you know, I mean, people should know about it. Obviously, things, you know, press should be free, and people should have access to unfiltered knowledge about as many things as possible. But things like this there's also things like this need to be private, and like that wasn't the case here. And like, anyway, I'm going too much off tangent. I don't think there's a commentary on that, but that happened, so that was great. And then I think the only part I didn't particularly like was how frazzled she got when Wong didn't up the case, and she was kind of like stressing out. And I'm like, I don't know, I've never been a lawyer, but I've done like debating and like tournament debating, and like you tend to, like, if you're well practiced, you tend to also be well practiced and not showing how nervous you are, because it instinctively turns people off taking your side. So I would have thought, but I mean, I guess you got to assign to the audience what her emotional state is. I guess that court case was perhaps the least favorite part of the episode, I guess, because of how more or less inconsequential. I mean, it wasn't. I think it was just the least of the good parts of the episode. I think it was hyped up for like 2 episodes, and I thought, oh, we were going to get like this full-on like parole case and like a whole. But I don't actually know much about a parole case contains it, and I think I'm conflating it much more with how courtroom dramas, and this wasn't quite courtroom drama, and it was still entertaining. Nice to see kind of the abomination in a much more kind of clear fashion, because obviously it was kind of darkish and in the background in Shang-Chi, and then apart from trailer shots for this episode, we saw Emil Blonsky in kind of a much more clear thing. Although it's interesting, I like how I did note they cut away from showing the full transformation from his human form into his full form. They cut away from like he starts growing, and then they cut away, and then we see the full CGI version. Then he starts shrinking, and we cut away, and we see the human version. Smart critique. It would have been nice to see the full thing, but I understand why they had to cut corners. You know, it didn't break the kind of immersion of it by any means. What else? Did I mention I don't know who Megan Thee Stallion is? I was very confused. I was like, is the Stallion like a nick? Oh no, it's her actual rapper name is Mega V Star. I mean, I saw her name in the credits. Yeah, and then we had the I just pushed a tooth and my teeth hurt. That was annoying. And then, you know, when you push your teeth and then your teeth start stinging and then it doesn't go for a while and you have to speak funny because like you don't want to irritate your teeth anymore. And there was a B story, which was, I love the bit where Jennifer Walters breaks fourth wall to basically be like, hey, we're merging an A and B story together. I'm like, you are. And I was like, media analytic, I also noticed that as well. And you're calling it out. And I love this meta references. Yeah, the B story was great. Like, it was the guy from, I think, the first episode of this, who was Jennifer Walters' colleague, who was basically the massive misogynist. And yeah, essentially, the other dude, what's his name? Pug. Apparently his name's Pug. Nickname. Pug basically took the case, and that was I loved his lawyering. That was more kind of law drama stuff, and I loved that was kind of good. I loved how they basically won the case by letting Jennifer Walters call out Dennis, was his name, I think, call out Dennis for like being basically a very toxic man, and she rushed, and I'm like, I'm sorry for you. And then we get the plot hook at the end where Wrecking Crew, which I'm excited for appearing in the MCU. Like, for those who, I mean, except for those who watched my videos before, there's literally no one watching this, so I don't know, but that's no one, but I remember Wrecking Crew from when I played Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and I looked at them and I was like, oh, this is a very fascinating concept that you can only get in comics. So I'm glad that they finally made it way to the MCU. And they basically, it's hilarious. They basically just attack Jennifer Walters, and she just no trouble, so completely dismisses them. And apparently we're trying to get some of her blood. And it obviously fails. I'm glad it obviously fails, because it would have been quite inconsistent if it didn't. Like, if it was that easy to get Hulk blood, but you know, I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to puncture the skin. The only reason that Batman bled earlier was because of the inhibitor chip, so there's like no reason why it should. Like, she should bleed. So I don't know if they're gonna kind of retcon that in the future, but as it stands, I love that. That was great. And then we get like a nice little pluck there. Can't remember how many more episodes of this series are. I think there are 3 more, so about halfway through, and it's good. I think this is actually, I think, probably one of the most consistently strong. This is actually probably the strongest consistently of an MCU show. It's just got better and better and better. Like, don't get me wrong, I think the MCU shows are doing very well. People seem to see that being a bit of a mix. I think people are spoiled with their opinions of Marvel. But even all the ones previously, I felt they had issues with pacing. I felt they had issues with, I think they were good but good mixed. Well, this is like, and I think WandaVision was pretty strong, but WandaVision was very experimental. It was very conceptual, because you can't really compare it one with the other. Like, whilst you're watching it, you felt confused, but that was kind of the experience that you were meant to. And then obviously we got a reveal, and it was like, oh well, was that all we were building to? I guess Loki actually. So yeah, this is probably the strongest show since Loki for me, for sure. So yeah, those are my thoughts on She-Hulk. Yeah, I agree, Nathaniel, who's commented to say that they're not a fan of the 6-episode Marvel series, that they don't think they're long enough. I absolutely agree. My biggest criticism of the MCU, the Disney Plus MCU shows, is their pacing, and I think that is 100% to do with the episode length. It's the difficulty of making TV over film sometimes is juggling your pacing. So when you make film as a standard, it's like, they have like 120 pages or 150 pages, or I can't remember the exact number, but there's like a standardized number of pages you write for a script, and there's a formula. I'm quoting Blake Snyder's how to, Blake Snyder's save a cat theory here, which for any person who's done any kind of film education would know about. And yeah, in Snyder's book, you have certain places where story beats go, and it's pretty consistent across the board. So it's, I think, easier to pace a film. Whilst TV shows, even if you know kind of how long your series is, even if it's like 26 or 30 episode long series, you're balancing, you have your internal episode structure, your internal episode pacing, but you've got to balance the kind of arc of the episode. But sometimes, your story just doesn't stretch that far, but you've got network mandated episode lengths, so you've got to put filler in. It's a bigger thing, and I do think the issue here is 6 episodes don't work for what Marvel's trying to do. Hasn't worked. Okay, so it worked for Loki. It's working for this so far. It should have worked for WandaVision. In theory, I think WandaVision, actually, the concept of WandaVision should have suited a 6-episode structure, but it didn't. And as I said in my WandaVision reactions, it kind of they undid everything in episode 5 and had a completely new premise for episode 6, and that was my issue. Everything else, should have been shorter or longer, but not 6 episodes. I think if they worked it was shorter and they cut off a lot of the B story, they cut off a lot of filler, or longer, and they gave us more kind of breathing space, more pacing, more filler, and there's a reason why, it's this weird thing that streaming has introduced, because America is traditionally, they have very long series. They have very long episode counts. Like you watch Agents of Shield, and that's like what, 20 something episodes long. You watch things like Elementary, it's 20 long episodes long. The British are more used to doing kind of micro series, like things that are 6 episodes long or 3 episodes long, but often those traditionally have been standalone kind of concepts. So Sherlock was 3 episodes. Oh well, Sherlock doesn't count. Sherlock was like 3 mini films. But like a lot of comedies, a lot of sitcoms, they were like 6 episodes long, but those didn't have an arc. Usually shows with an arc series, British ones, they would tend to have like 13 episodes, for example, like Doctor Who, or like Merlin, or those kind of dramas, and then you have like obviously the soaps, which just run perpetually, whilst America is more like a 26-25 episode long series kind of thing. 6 episodes is kind of a thing where like, oh, we're streaming and we're balancing so many other shows at the same time that we need to kind of compress, and I'm like, that's fine, but I don't know. I mean, Nathaniel's right. 6 episodes doesn't work for most of what Marvel is doing. It either needs to be kind of much less and much longer. That being said, this show seems paced so far, but also this show has been quite episodic so far. I mean, you could probably like, I don't know, well, kind of episodic. There hasn't really kicked off an arc yet. It's not really like an over. Each episode has I mean, the plot lines flow through, but each episode is kind of a self-contained arc. First episode was about her becoming a Hulk. Second episode was her about working on what she wanted to do next, and third episode was obviously a kind of a more traditional A plot, B plot kind of deal. We don't have we get these plot hooks, but we don't have a continuing narrative. Whilst all the other shows have had a more continuing narrative, this seems more self-contained, which I think is what's helping the pacing quite a lot. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think in a comment below. Well, yes, that's your mission. If you have an opinion, you must present it to me in comic form. I will be not accepting comments. Thanks for watching. I need to watch the next episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, but I'm probably not going to do that tonight, or maybe I might do it in a couple of hours. I don't know. I've got to do some video editing for work, so I'm going to probably do that next while I'm awake and aware. And also drink some coffee. So that's what I'm doing next. But yeah, at some point I will schedule a stream for Lower Decks. I also want to watch Rings of Power, because despite all of the negative hype, that's a thing, towards Ring of Power, apparently Ring of Power is actually doing critically well. I mean, I don't put too much weight in critical reception. I tend to find a lot of people hate critically. I enjoy what a lot of people like critically. I also tend to enjoy, actually, no, I think I just tend to enjoy things. I'm one of those people. But I expected Ring of Power to be more mixed because of all the negative hype, but actually it's doing quite well, which makes me think it actually might be a good series. So I want to watch Ring of Power. So I have 3 things to do, and for some reason they all released on Thursday, and this is Friday, which shows you how bad a day that is for things to release. I'm rambling terribly now, so before I lose like my 1 viewer, I'm gonna sign off. Thanks everyone for checking me out. Thanks Nathaniel for checking me out. And I'll see you guys in the best stream next thing. Bye.